been so grateful to have an amazing team at my back. I've been healthy, my prep's gone smooth. It's been a completely different year, and what I went through last year really kind of showed a new mental tenacity in me that I didn't think I had. So this year I'm really excited just to kind of show off a brand new look and bring something that's never been seen before.
There was this growing sentiment that 2019 would be Chris's year. Chris came out in 2019 with a new look, specifically a mustache, something that not only became a defining characteristic of his stage look, but unintentionally popularized that look not just within Classic Physique, but the entire fitness community as a whole. During prejudging, it was clear that it would be Chris and Breon at 1 and 2 once again, but the decision was not at all clear because Breon Ainsley again would come much improved from the previous year. Taking down an improved champion is extremely difficult in the sport of bodybuilding, but if there was anybody that could do it, it was Chris. Despite coming in slightly improved from 2018, Chris still lost to Breon in the critical back double bicep, but dominated in the front poses while the side poses were relatively close. When it was all done and decided, Chris would dethrone Breon Ainsley by 1 point, which is an accurate reflection of how close their physiques were that night.
The second place award, the check for $10,000, the Olympia silver medal to our runner-up this evening, Breon Ainsley.
Oh wow. My goodness.
We have a new champion.
And I can hear the crowd roaring from here.
And the title of 2019 Classic Olympia champion, Chris Bumstead.
And there it is.
There's been quite a rumble amongst the fans who it would be.
Chris had finally done it. The sacrifices he had made, the setbacks he had to overcome, the leap of faith that he took in himself to chase his dream had finally paid off, and he wanted the fans to know that it didn't come easy for him.
Chris Bumstead, Classic Physique Olympia champion. How does that sound?
Sounds goddamn good. Feels good to hear it. I'm ready. I was ready for it this year. It's my first year. I knew I needed to hear it, and we worked for it. Got it.
Give us a quick thought.
I mean, it's hard to put into words right now. I mean, like Chris stated, I mean, how much has gone into this. I mean, knowing from our back end, I know how much he's had to overcome to get to where he's been. And, it just makes that victory so much more sweet, right? I mean, to be here and to, knock off a really good Breon, I mean, it makes it just, one of those victories that just you only dream of, right? So, I mean, it's, and to share this, with our family, Chris being obviously my brother-in-law, it's just that much more meaningful too. So, couldn't ask for more than that.
Now, not everyone was pleased with the decision, most notably Breon's coach Chris Cormier. Nonetheless, it was a decision that many fans could respect. Dethroning a reigning champ who comes back improved is no easy task, and Chris did that, due in part to the judges strongly believing that his physique and likeness would push the Classic Physique division to heights we couldn't predict. And in a way, they weren't just believing in Chris, but they were investing in him, and boy would that investment pay off.
Only a few back workouts left until the Olympia, so we gotta make every single one count.
With the off-season underway, Chris and Ian placed a tremendous focus on building up Chris's back and biceps, the two areas he was weakest in, and boy was it showing.
I've been feeling really good. I've been feeling exceptional, and more importantly, I've been feeling excited and confident and calm, and just that word excitement is a very powerful word for me because it's a word I haven't felt and related to competing in 3 years now.
Every physique update heading into the show showed a much bigger and improved cbum, a cbum who if he could win from the back would become virtually unbeatable. In 2019, Chris promised that he would bring something the division had never seen, and to a certain extent, he did that. However, in 2020, Chris reminded people that he had promised to set the standard of what Classic Physique should be, and that he plans to stay true to that claim.
When I came in last year and you asked me this similar question, I told you Classic Physique hadn't found someone who had set the standard of what it was meant to look like. And that was my goal last year. I wanted to come in, and I believe because it was such a new division, it was still searching for someone to be at the top, someone for the young kids coming up that they wanted to strive towards that standard Classic Physique look. I showed that last year, and I was young, and I was not complete. I was not 100%. This year, I'm going to show an improved version of that. Next year, an improved version of that, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you guys what the standard of Classic Physique is, and what's going to be in the future, and I'm going to set it.
This declaration would become one of the signature slogans of his brand identity, and something that added to the allure of watching him step out on stage.
But this year's been different. I haven't been shutting down my emotions and telling myself I shouldn't be feeling things and pushing shit down. I've been embracing it. When I feel fear, I feel it. I take a moment and I feel it. I let myself sink into it, and then I try and analyze it. I'm like, what are you actually afraid of?
On the morning of December 18th, 2020, the prejudging for Classic Physique took place. Everyone, including myself, stopped everything we were doing to sit and watch the live stream, eagerly awaiting cbum's appearance. During the initial comparisons, the first batch of competitors came out, and then the second batch, and then came Chris in the final one, and your eyes could not go anywhere else. Chris drew your attention immediately as he towered over the rest of the competition and displayed eye-popping proportions and muscularity. It was the same physique as the year before, but with more muscle and equal conditioning. And then it happened. Chris turned around from behind to hit a back double bicep and shocked everyone with how much wider and thicker his back had gotten. These comparisons showed little detail as the camera was zoomed out to capture all of the competitors on stage, but you couldn't help but wonder, did I just see what I think I saw? The fans would find out during the individual routines when Chris would come out alone, where we would get to see him up close, and for those of us who had gotten to see him in 2019, this was a different cbum. He maintained his beautiful lines, his beautiful shape, that signature vacuum, but he was thicker. And no moment would exemplify this more than when Chris turned around from behind and showed his back. And it was utterly jaw-dropping. To have made that kind of improvement in just 1 year was something most bodybuilders couldn't do in 3. His back wasn't just thicker and wider, but it was shredded. The potential that everyone thought Chris had was on full display, and it was evident that he had won before it even truly started, and he knew it. During the first call out, Chris was immediately moved to one of the top spots, next to, you guessed it, Breon Ainsley, who had come in bigger but not as sharp as 2019. However, even if he was as sharp, it wouldn't have mattered because Chris finally beat Breon from the back. Well, actually, he dominated him for the first time in his career. With Breon being the main contender and Terrence Ruffin being in the mix but not close, neither of them stood a shot at the title. It was Chris's to lose after prejudging, and he held strong.
Had prejudging this morning, just locked in and focused and taking the day, and it couldn't have gone any better. I really don't think it could have gone any better. I woke up looking great this morning. Everything this week was perfect. The prep was just amazing. Backstage, I was just in the zone. I didn't see anyone else around me. I just felt like it was just me out there posing, trying to do my thing, being better than last year, and it felt right.
During the finals, Chris came back and put together his best posing routine thus far and cemented his victory in the final comparison while knocking off Breon for the second time. Breon would fall to third place while Terrence Ruffin would leapfrog him into second. Chris was officially a 2-time Classic Physique Champion, and this one was indisputable.
Become better, learn that life happens for you, not to you. And just try to get better every damn day. Enjoy the process. Something I've learned to enjoy every second of it on the stage, on the lights. The entire journey leading up here for the past years. It's just been such a blessing. I'm so grateful. And just so happy to be up here hearing say hands still. That felt good to hear. And I'm happy.
The 2021 Olympia was right around the corner, and cbum was looking like he would repeat. There was no reason to believe that he would regress, especially given his track record of coming in sharp every year.
And I had these thoughts before leading up to that, being like, do I even love bodybuilding anymore? Do I want to do this forever? This causing me so much stress. It's so difficult. I'm already so successful in business and my following and your guys' support. I know you'll still be there whether or not I'm competing. Am I still doing this for me for the right reasons? Do I still love this?
October 8th, 2021. With another year of anticipation over, the fans would get to see Chris attempt to three-peat and undeniably cement himself as the classic physique GOAT, something which a lot of people already believed him to be, but could be argued considering him and Brian were tied with Olympias, but that wouldn't be for long. During the initial comparisons, Chris came out to what looked to be a stacked lineup of classic athletes, easily the most stacked the division had seen up until that point. He made some more moderate improvements to his package from 2020, which was perfectly fine considering how much better he was than everyone else. He didn't necessarily need to be bigger or even that much more conditioned, he just had to come back the same. As the first callouts were announced, Chris's name was announced along with the usual suspects, Terrence Ruffin and Brian Ainsley. But there were two up-and-comers who were flying under the radar that stood in that callout with Chris, Urs Kalsinski and Ramon Dino. German-born Urs Kalsinski had a shape and structure very similar to Chris's, he just lacked the mass. The Brazilian-born Ramon Dino, however, was a different story. Although he was rough around the edges, the kid had mass, more mass than most Olympia rookies step on stage with. He got the chance to stand next to the champ, and although he held his own, he wasn't going to win. But boy did he scream potential. Instead, he would take 5th. Urs would take 4th, Brian would take 3rd, and for his second consecutive year, Terrence Ruffin would place 2nd place. And at the end of the night, after another impressive finals appearance, the fans would hear the words, "and 3-time Olympia champion."
3-time
All right.
Olympia champion,
There it
Chris
is.
Bumstead.
Whoop there.
But this morning after prejudging, I had that same cry in the bathroom, but this one was a cry of gratitude and pride that I had pushed through and gotten through that. And it's these moments, it's this journey, and like I felt this before having the trophy around my neck. It's the journey, it's the experience, it's knowing that you pushed past times where you wanted to quit. And you got shit done. You pushed through it. So to everyone out there whose dreams are scaring you, whose dreams make you want to quit, just don't quit. That's good. Your dreams should be big, they should be scary. Just keep pushing through. I have this thing I say, champion mentality. It's not about winning, it's not about a trophy, it's about having no quit. It's about giving everything you have so that when you show up on game day, before the results are over, you're proud of yourself and you know the work you put in.
Chris would chuck up the 3 with the first place medal around his neck and walk away that night as a 3-time champion and uncontested classic physique GOAT. If there was any moment that truly shone a light on Chris's impact on the division, it was the 2021 Olympia. The caliber of competition was something early fans of the division could appreciate because of how far it came, and a major part of that was due to Chris. It's no secret that once-in-a-generation athletes automatically make everyone chasing them better, and the quality of new competition, combined with the improvements of established ones who were just trying to have a shot at Chris, was proof that he was the new standard and maybe even better, just like he said he would be.
Next meal, a bottle of water. Very crucial. Stay hydrated. Don't be thirsty. Don't be a thirsty hoe. Drink water.
As the show drew closer, other camps in the division were creating more and more hype for themselves by posting some last-minute updates for the fans, which at the very least kept things exciting. Urs Kalsinski was looking fantastic, Brian Ainsley promised to bring his best classic look ever, and it looked like he was going to do that, and Ramon Dino had clearly made some tremendous improvements to some of his weak points. But wasn't enough to actually push Chris?
This year too has been different because my mind's in a really good place, and I know that because there's so much like noise and talk and shit going on about me now. Like I've won 3 times in a row, so people want to see me with failures and like shortcomings and falling.
As the prejudging went on, there were some changes within the top 5, as 2-time runner-up Terrence Ruffin was not in a top spot, having been moved to the outside. Mike Sommerfeld seemed to crack the top 6, an improvement from his previous placing. Brian Ainsley appeared to be either 4th or 5th. Urs Kalsinski was also in the mix right there with him, showcasing that beautiful shape that he's quickly becoming known for. And as has been the case at every Olympia of his career, Chris once again and unsurprisingly was in a top 2 spot, but this time with Ramon Dino. Steve Weinberger isolated the two in their own callout, cementing Chris and Ramon as our 1st and 2nd placers. Going post for pose and entertaining the fans in the process, the two put on a show that'll probably go down as the most entertaining head-to-head in the history of the division thus far. Despite Ramon bringing a strong package, it was clear who the favorite was heading into the finals. With fans waiting in anticipation and some hoping for a potential upset, the finals would roll around and Chris would come out with his polished posing routine that we've come to expect and the confidence he always carries with him into the finals. When it was all said and done, the judges didn't need too many more rounds of confirmation because it was pretty clear that Chris was very much still the standard, because as impressive as Ramon and the rest of that lineup were, there hasn't been and currently isn't a single athlete in the division with the combination of size, shape, and proportion as perfect as Chris's. So once again, for the 4th time in a row, the legend of cbum, daddy, the standard, or whatever else you want to call him, would grow, as Bob Ciccarello would say the words "and still" once more.
And still,
There we
Classic
go.
Physique Champ, 4-time Olympian, Chris Bumstead.
All right.
It's been a beautiful year for me, to say the least. There's been a lot of talk of my retirement for whatever reason. Not retiring. Don't worry, guys. I'm not going away. I'm here. I fucking love what I'm doing. But I think it's really kind of beautiful that people thought that, because I think it shows that I'm learning to really enjoy the moment and the journey and be present in it, because a lot of people don't have the opportunity to kind of enjoy the moment, so they look back and realize what they just went through and they're like, wow, that was like, I wish I'd been a little more present and enjoyed that a little bit more. And I think the fact people think I'm done is because I'm actually here enjoying it now, and it's a beautiful thing.
With the 2023 Mr. Olympia on the horizon, the excitement revolved more around the open division rather than classic due to Chris's dominance. The real excitement that came with the classic division was the prospect of any of the up-and-comers, particularly Ramon, being able to finally defeat Chris. But with Chris's progress heading into the show, that outcome did not seem likely. With the change in weight caps allowing for Breon Ainsley to stay in the division, that meant more competition for Chris this year. But as most would imagine, the champ wasn't fazed. He continued to update the fans on his progress, which indicated that he was en route to another win. After all, he was the standard. He defined classic physique when it had no true definition, when it was a ball of clay with no structure, and he promptly came in 2019 and molded it. As for his biggest adversary, Dino, he once again was turning heads with his insane progress. His back had improved drastically, and like clockwork, the Dino vs. cbum talks would ramp up again. While those talks were happening, however, Chris was nowhere to be seen and keeping things quiet on his social media around 10 weeks out from the Olympia. In a heart-to-heart with the fans on his YouTube channel, Chris explained this short hiatus.
I've been on a bit of a hiatus. Me and Calvin haven't really filmed in like 3 weeks because I went to Canada. There's a bit of chaos. It was supposed to be like a chill week where I just got my head together and I was like super at peace and training and enjoying shit. And it ended up just turning into hell. Some personal stuff happened and it was like stressful. I was losing sleep. I couldn't sleep regardless. My body got kind of sick. My body kind of shut down. Some other shit ended up happening. Some stuff that I'm not gonna talk about right now, but maybe in a few weeks or in the future I will talk about what happened right now. But my body was not feeling good. My body was not responding, and there was some personal shit going on, and it just kind of all like fell in on to me at the same time. And so I was like, Calvin, we're not filming. I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna be training by myself for a little bit and just kind of keep to myself. And I was gone for like 10 days. So we're back. We're gonna start filming now, getting back into the swing of things. And this has been one of the more challenging beginnings of prep that I've really ever had. But I've always been through some shit. Every year there's something happens. So if this is happening at the beginning of prep, then lucky me, I got it out of the way.
With Chris having given his fans the most intimate insight into his life like no other IFBB pro, it was no secret that every prep was difficult for him in one way or another. So at this point, it was a foregone conclusion that Chris would experience a rough patch during prep that would challenge his will to continue. But having encountered that time and time again and bouncing back every single instance, it only made him stronger and more resilient. And in 2023, having overcome that dark period once again and locking in like he always would, it would spell trouble for the rest of the competition as Chris was hitting his stride and looking like the cbum we've come to know. So, barring anything catastrophic, the 2023 Mr. Olympia was going to be Chris's to lose, just like it had been the previous 4 years.
A struggle I've had up and down throughout the years is finding the motivation to like keep going. There's something that's just easier about being an underdog with no expectation, chasing after somebody or something, being like, I'm going to beat that guy. I'm second place, I want to beat that guy. Or I'm a new pro, nothing's expected of me, let me prove myself. And there's something just a little bit easier about fucking finding a little fire in your ass like that, as opposed to when you've been winning for 4 years and there's no one to look at, there's no goal to look at, there's no thing that exists in front of you to chase after. You have to create it.
With the initial comparisons over during the prejudging, the first callout consisted of the usual suspects: Chris, Ramon, Urs, and Breon, along with Terrence Ruffin and Michael DeBoule. As Big Steve rearranged the top 6, Chris was placed at the center square, a spot that he had become all too familiar with at the Olympia. Dapping up his rival in the process, the top 6 were ready to put on a show. As they all went through hitting their mandatory poses, it became clear to anyone who followed the sport that this top 6 was one of, if not the most impressive top 6 in classic physique history. Especially in terms of conditioning, 2023's lineup was not messing around. However, as had been the case the previous 4 years, it didn't matter, because Chris was undeniable. His wide lats combined with his X-frame had become the defining characteristic of what classic physique was, and since he rose to prominence in the division, there has not been a single competitor that could display it better than him, reminding everyone that he was a standard, a measure that was almost impossible to live up to for the rest of the competition. Now, as was the case in 2022, him and Ramon were left to duke it out as the top 2 placers, where it was clear that Ramon wanted to bring a tighter and drier package rather than play the size game with Chris. That left him bringing a package that was the closest we've seen to pushing Chris Bumstead. But what was also clear was that Chris was still Chris.
Round 1, back to you, Bob. All right, thank you, Big Steve. How about a big hand?
Man, I wish you the best of luck today. Not that you need it. The biggest thing that I want to say is that how you inspire young men is one of the biggest things that I always say. People should be looking up to you. People like you are what are changing young men's lives, including my own. How do you feel today, man?
I feel good. Ready to go.
That's
Enjoying
all
the
I
moment,
need.
you know?
Let's go, baby.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate you so much, all right?
Of course, man, yeah.
Go get it. Get that 5th title, baby. And you got this, okay?
Felt pretty good up there. Had fun. Enjoyed the moment. It was the most important part. Now we're going to get ready for the night show. Should probably try and think of a routine in my head because a lot of people watch this and I don't have a routine. I have a song though. So winging it is my style. I say this every year.
With his victory almost solidified, Chris came out in the finals for another all-time great posing routine en route to the finals confirmation round, where the judges needed little time to confirm, because there was no doubt as to not only who won the 2023 Mr. Olympia, but who was right behind him. So the judges asked the top 5 to pose down for the fans before the awards. With Ramon and Chris at center stage and both men with their hands on their hips, it was a sight that would parallel that of 2022. A parallel which would foreshadow exactly what was going to happen next. History repeating itself. With Chris now winning his 5th Olympia title, the question of how to take down cbum will loom in the minds of fans for months to come. But the simple answer to that question is, you can't. I'm Large Kofi. Thank you for watching.
5-time Olympia champion, folks. How's it feel, Chris? Does it get sweeter every time?
It's hard to say sweeter because they're all special, but this one's really, really special, yeah. Anyone close to me knows how special this one is. And I mean, this prep was fun, it was interesting. I've had a mantra every prep I've gone through. Last year was from a friend Zach, it was about no quit. This year, I wanted to add to my champion mentality concept, and I told myself that I wasn't going to numb out my emotions, suppress everything I felt just to win another Olympia, and I'd rather experience this whole process and do that. And life really tested me when I said that, and I was going through some shit at the beginning of this prep, some personal shit, and I started to shut down, and my body started to shut down, and I honestly tore my lat like 10 weeks out. No one even knows that. And then it was like no training for a while, and it was shit, and it was falling apart, but I told myself I was going to feel it. And I was going to lean on the people I love, and I wasn't going to be alone through all that. And I remember when I tore my lat in the gym, I called my fiance, called Hani, I called my parents, I talked to my sister Ian, and I cried. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And that was one of those things where leaning on people I love, they all looked at me and they're like, you don't have to do this. And we'll love you no matter what you do, but we believe in you. And I was like,